Hey guys, so I am going to give you the severe weather outlook for the rest of this week into Monday. So here we are, it's the 26th of April, and this is the outlook for today. So you can see that this is mainly affecting the central United States. Right here, you can see that it's mainly affecting the central US. So Kansas City, Des Moines, Omaha, and just southeast of Norfolk are in the enhanced risk for today, whereas this huge area going all the way down to Waco is in a slight risk for today. So let's look at our risk levels here. So this area where the 10% is, a tornado watch is likely to be posted for this spot here because of the hatched area and this 10% probability of a tornado that's EF2 or greater. This brown right here is, where you can get EF0s to maybe EF1s with a 5% probability. And this 2% mainly would be EF0 or just a gustnado. So, yeah. The wind probability actually isn't as bad as the day yesterday, but you can see that it is covering a pretty large area for this 15%, which means that there is a risk of damaging winds from Waco up to Norfolk. So, yeah. Still, this could be a pretty dangerous situation in terms of the wind. So, let's look at the hail probability, and the hail is the greatest threat for today. So so Lincoln, Omaha, and just west of Des Moines are in the 30% category for quarter-size hail or larger. But the hatched area is where you can possibly get some baseball-size hail, which is considered large hail. So you can see the hatch area goes all the way down to just south of Waco and as far north as Norfolk. So, yeah, so if any of you live in these areas, I would batten down the hatches, and, if you could put your cars in the garage, I would do that before the storms arrive. If you don't have a garage, just cover the car with really thick blankets or something equivalent to that to prevent damage to your vehicle. So let's look at day 2. Day 2, the enhanced risk does get larger, and it extends up into northern lower Michigan for the slight risk, but the enhanced risk, it does extend back down into Texas and up to Des Moines. So let's look at the tornado probability, and you can see this is the greatest. This is going to be the worst of it right here. Like, tomorrow will be the worst of it. So you can see just south of Lincoln and around Wichita Falls has a 10% probability or greater of an EF2 tornado because of this hatched area. So this hatched area is a pretty large area, and you can see that possibly up to 7.2 million people could be affected by a possible tornado outbreak. So, for those that are in the yellow or brown, you're going to have to be aware of a tornado, especially if you're in the hatched area. You might not be able to see the tornado, especially if it's rain wrapped. So you hear the siren or get the alert, I recommend you take shelter. Don't try to film this. Let the storm chasers or the professionals handle that job. Storm chasers know what they're doing, and they can safely film these tornadoes because they have all the equipment necessary to spot these tornadoes and film them. So I don't recommend you go out there yourself if you have a tornado warning, because you might not be able to see a tornado. So You hear the siren, take shelter immediately. Is what I recommend. Don't try to film it unless you're a storm chaser. You know, a professional storm chaser. So, Des Moines. So for the wind threat for tomorrow, from Des Moines, which is that far north, all the way down to Wichita Falls, has a 30% probability of damaging winds. So, for the slight risk, the 15, this goes down from the border of Mexico up into northern lower Michigan. So, yeah. And then this brown right here is the marginal risk, which, you know, means that you can have an isolated gust or two, but, you know, very rarely it would hit 60 or greater in this brown area. But in the yellow to red areas, you can have a probability of maybe 70 or something. You can have probability of maybe 70 to possibly even 80 mile an hour winds. So, this is the wind threat. So, let's look at the hail, and you can see how this is going to affect up to 15.6 million people. So the baseball size hail could possibly affect up to 15.6 million people. So the hail threat's going to be worse on day 2, because this is basically, you know, this is forecasted to be the peak of it. So Des Moines down to Wichita Falls has a 30% chance or greater of baseball size hail because they're in the hatched area. So from the border of Mexico up to northern lower Michigan has a probability of quarter size hail or greater of 15%. So this is affecting a pretty large area. And there's a possibility, like 24 million people are in the 15% for quarter size hail. But no, this is affecting millions across the country. So again, if you have a car and it's outside, I would park it in a garage if possible. If you can't park it in a garage, I suggest you cover it with thick blankets or something equivalent to that. And make sure to weigh that down, because the wind could possibly blow that off of your car. So, you know, this is a pretty dangerous situation, especially in this hatched area. So, if you're in the hatched area, especially, you're going to have to, you know, at least, and if your roof gets hit, you know, you're going to have to get your roof inspected after that. But, again, your life is more important than your vehicle or your roof right now because of the tornado threat mainly. So, yeah. So, let's look at day 3 now. This just shows probabilities. So, there's a slight risk going from, you know, northeast of Des Moines down to Waco, and the probability is 15% currently. So, and this could affect up to 20, this could affect, you know, possibly up to 37 million for a possible severe risk, but the greatest threat is going to be where the 20 million is. So, see right there, 20 million could possibly be affected by the slight risk. Day 4, we don't see much, so this outbreak could be a 3-day outbreak. Alright, so now we're gonna get to the forecast. So here's our forecast for the temperatures currently. So currently in Michigan they're in the 50s, but down where the severe weather threat is, it's currently in the 70s. So this is for this morning. Let's go into the afternoon here. For the afternoon, they're going to climb up into the 80s, and the areas that have the greatest risk are going to climb up into the 80s and possibly into the 90s. Dew points, let's look at dew points here. Dew points are going to be in the 60s, you know, mid 60s, possibly even upper 70s, which could be an ingredient to the severe weather threat for today, at least for the areas that we just looked at on the outlook. So there's a few areas that could have a 70-degree dew point, which is very oppressive. And again, you look at the humidity, like humidity right here. You can see the humidity is oppressive. It's pretty oppressive too. It's like in the it's like in the fifth. It's like between 60 and 90% for oppressive humidity. So yeah. Let's go into Saturday morning, and dew points are still going to be in the 60s, but they're going to extend northward towards, just south of Michigan, but they're going to be west of Michigan with dew points in the lower 60s. So this is Saturday morning. You can see the forecasted precip going through Michigan as morning precipitation. So thankfully, since this is in the morning for Michigan, they're not expecting any severe weather at the least. Thankfully for Michigan for Saturday, because most of that rain on Saturday is going to happen during the morning for Michigan. So, let's go back to. I want to go back to the dew points here. So, let's look at Saturday afternoon. And you can see in Michigan, the dew points do go up a bit. They start climbing. Over here, you see dew points over here are in the 60s to possibly even 70s here. And let's look at this, and you can see a pretty large area of thunderstorms on this model here. Just a pretty large area of them, and you can see how heavy that rain's going to fall out of them. But this goes all the way up. The thunderstorm possibility goes all the way up to Omaha and possibly in the Upper Peninsula, but the severe weather threat is mainly going to be over here. So, again, I'm going to use the European model to do the forecast, but other models may show something different. So, and then look at the temperatures and what they're going to be Saturday afternoon. They're going to be in the 70s, upper 70s, lower 80s, but in the severe weather threat, it could possibly be about 85 degrees or a little bit warmer than that, at least over here where this low is. So, still see, you can see the temperatures are not going to fall below 65 degrees. It's, even these spots, they're going to have lows in the 70s in some of these areas for, overnight lows going into Saturday, so going into Sunday morning. So, yeah. Let's take a look at dew point Sunday morning, and these dew points are still pretty high in this huge area over here. So this is where the greatest threat's going to occur, and it'll be on Sunday. But again, the greatest threat's going to be on between days 2 and 3 for the severe weather threat. So, let's go into 2 o'clock. You can see the 60-degree dew points go into Michigan and go as far north as just north of Traverse City in Michigan. But, down here where the threat's the greatest, the dew point's near 70. So, let's see the radar. So let's look at the radar and let's look at the future radar and what that looks like. And you can see that there's a possibility of these cells popping up too, even non-severe cells popping up in Detroit and stuff. But, thunderstorm development is going to be pretty good on Sunday too. So, thunderstorms in Wisconsin, some of these could be, a good majority of them in that risk area could be severe. So, you can see that. Dew point in the thunderstorm is 65. So, alright, so, let's look at another model real quick here. Let's look at day 1 again. So day one, these dew points are forecasted a bit higher on this one. But, the temperatures are generally lower, so that probably means more humidity on this model than the other models. But then you can see them climb up at about 6 o'clock on this model. On this model, you can see temperatures, you can see lows, here's 11 in the morning. Let's look at dew points. I'm trying to get dew points on here. Yeah. Here's the dew points. They're going to climb in the 60s. Some spots are going to have 70-degree dew points. So, it's pretty muggy. So definitely a muggy weekend for most. But let's look at 4 o'clock, the peak of the severe weather timing, of course. You're not going to see thunderstorms on here, but you can see this weird shape right here. But some models depict these as regular rain, so this model does not have a thunderstorm thing on it, so we're just going to look at dew points on this model because of how they compare. So we can see what probabilities of tornado or anything there are going to be. So 1 o'clock, down here in Texas, dew points near 70. In Michigan, dew points in the 60s. So these dew points are going to go as, 60-degree dew points are going to go as far north as possibly Traverse City, going all the way down till the dew points hit 70 near the border of Mexico. So it's going to be a pretty wet one in Texas. So, yeah, pretty wet one out in Texas. So, and you can see how this one depicts a line going all the way down south. You can see how this one depicts a line going all the way down. That line, that possibly could be maybe a gust front or something. But, you look at the winds off of the low itself, and they're going to be about gusting to 40 miles an hour. So as I was saying, the winds are going to be gusting to like 40 miles an hour ahead of that front. Which means that this system is going to have a pretty decent wind shear on it. So you can see that possible wind shear that's going to have too. So, and I want to show you another model I look at too when I determine this stuff too. So here's Tropical Tidbits, another weather model I use. So let's look at precipitation and moisture. Again, look at that. You see this one shows the squall line, the possible squall line developing. So this is today. So you can look at this is today, and you can see a brief squall line developing and then turning into normal rain going into the morning. So this is Saturday morning. Then we go into Saturday afternoon, and you can see this pocket of very heavy rain developing here. This is going to be this could be the severe weather threat right there. So, you can see how they dissipate. So, they definitely depend on heating from the sun, for sure. But, Saturday I don't see much on this model, but Sunday I see a pretty decent amount of stuff on here. But again, this light rain could also be damaging winds maybe too. So, we can go all the way up into northern lower Michigan. Then we go into Monday, and the predictability is too low currently, but you could still see a few pockets of heavy rain right here. So, yeah. Let's look at another model now. Another model on this outbreak possibility here. So, here's today. So, see pockets of heavy rain. still, there's going to be a potential for severe weather down here too. So, we go into Saturday, and it's going to be a rainy morning on Saturday, for the NFL draft in Detroit. But then, what's going to happen? So yeah, these pockets could also be severe, but this one shows lighter precipitation on this American model. Then look at what happens on Sunday. Boom! See that? That could be a squall line right there. That could potentially produce damaging winds and large hail. Also, with the possibility of a tornado. So right there is where the squall line could be on Sunday, for Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon. So yeah, but the greatest probability is going to be during the afternoon on Sunday. So yeah. And we look into Monday, and you can still see it maintains that line, but the precip gets lighter, which means that, again, that's why the National Weather Service says that the predictability is too low for Monday, because, there's, this model does predict a severe thunderstorm right here, possibly, but, we're not sure, but they're not sure yet on how, what the extent of the severe weather threat's going to be for Monday. So, then it gets out here by Tuesday, and the front comes in. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and stay safe out there.